The alarm screamed through the halls of the massive alien ship. Red lights flashed everywhere as crew members ran to their stations. Something big was happening, and everyone could feel the fear in the air. Scanner operator Nix pressed her claws against the control panel. Her large yellow eyes stared at the display screen. The numbers didn't make sense. She ran the scan 3 more times, but the results stayed the same. This was impossible. "Commander Drex," she called out, her voice shaking. "You need to see this right now." Commander Drex walked over with heavy steps. His blue skin was covered in battle scars from many wars. He had fought humans before. They were small and weak, easy to defeat. Their ships were tiny compared to his mighty fleet. "What is the problem, Nix?" Drex asked. He looked annoyed. His fleet had been hunting one human ship for days. They finally found it, and now his crew was acting scared. "Sir, the scanner found the human ship. It's 40,000 space units away, but something is very wrong." "Wrong how?" Nix pointed at her screen. "The power reading, sir. It's showing numbers that can't be real. This human ship is making more energy than our entire fleet combined." Drex laughed. "Your scanner is broken, fix it. Humans are weak. Their ships are nothing compared to ours." But Nix shook her head. "I checked everything 5 times, sir. The scanner is working fine. This human ship is generating enough power to destroy planets." The bridge went quiet. All the alien crew members stopped talking. They stared at the scanner display. The numbers were huge, much bigger than anything they had ever seen before. Drex felt cold fear in his stomach. "How big is this human ship?" 800 meters long, sir. Bigger than any human ship in our records. Our fleet has 59 ships, Drex said slowly. We are the strongest force in this part of space. One human ship cannot be more powerful than all of us. But the scanner kept showing the same impossible numbers. The human ship called Retribution was putting out more energy than should be possible. It was like a small star floating in space. "Sir," the communication officer called out, "the human ship is sending us a message." "Put it on the main screen." A human face appeared on the display. He looked calm and relaxed. His uniform was simple, gray cloth. He didn't look scared at all, even though he was facing 59 enemy ships. "This is Captain Rivers of the human ship Retribution," the human said. His voice was steady and clear. "You are breaking galactic law by being in this space. Leave now, or face what happens next." The alien crew started laughing. The idea of one human threatening their entire fleet was crazy. Drex smiled and showed his sharp teeth. "Human," Drex said, "you are one ship. We are 59 ships. Give up now and maybe we won't kill all of you." The human's face didn't change. "You have 1 minute to start leaving. This is your only warning." The message ended. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then the alien started laughing again. But Nix wasn't laughing. She was staring at her scanner screen with wide eyes. "Commander," she whispered. "New contacts. Many new contacts. Where?" "All around us, sir. Ships are appearing everywhere." Drex looked at the tactical display. Red dots were showing up all over the screen, dozens of them, then hundreds. Each dot was a human ship. "Where did they come from?" Drex shouted. "They were hiding, sir, using some kind of invisible technology. They've been here the whole time watching us." The number of human ships kept growing. 200, 300, 400. They surrounded the alien fleet in a perfect circle. Every human ship was as big and powerful as the Retribution. "How many?" Drex asked. His voice was barely a whisper now. "Still counting, sir. At least 600 ships so far." The tactical officer ran over to Drex. "Sir, our scouts in other areas are reporting the same thing. Human fleets are appearing everywhere. Thousands of ships." Drex felt like he couldn't breathe. 600 human ships, each one more powerful than his entire fleet. And there were thousands more across the galaxy. How was this possible? "The humans were pretending to be weak," Nix said quietly. "They let us think they only had a few small ships, but they were building this massive fleet in secret." On the scanner, the human ships began to move, not rushing to attack, but moving in perfect formation. Like they had practiced this many times before. They formed a sphere around the alien fleet with no way to escape. "Sir," the weapons officer called out, "the human ships are charging their weapons. Energy levels are off our measurement scale." Drex looked around his bridge. His crew members were terrified. These were soldiers who had fought in many battles, but they had never seen anything like this. The communication system activated again. This time it wasn't just Captain Rivers on the screen. Dozens of human officers appeared, all wearing the same gray uniforms, all looking calm and ready. "Commander Drex," Rivers said, "now you understand your situation. You cannot win this fight. Your shields cannot protect you from our weapons. Your ships cannot outrun ours. Stand down immediately." Drex tried to speak, but no words came out. Around his fleet, human ships held position like metal sharks waiting to attack. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy his flagship in seconds. "What do you want?" Drex finally managed to ask. "Simple. Leave our space. Stop attacking our ships and colonies. Never come back." "And if we refuse?" The human's calm expression never changed. "Then you will learn why the galaxy should fear humanity. But I hope it doesn't come to that." The transmission ended. Drex stood alone on his bridge, surrounded by the most powerful fleet he had ever seen. In one moment, everything had changed. The humans weren't the weak prey they appeared to be. They were the hunters, and his fleet was trapped. Outside his ship, 600 human warships waited for his answer. And somewhere in the darkness of space, thousands more were doing the same thing across the galaxy. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The emergency meeting room buzzed with voices speaking in 20 different languages. Leaders from across the galaxy had gathered on the space station above the neutral world of Kepler-7. None of them had slept in the past 3 days. The news was too terrible to ignore. Prime Minister Yala of the Vorthon Empire sat at the curved table. Her forearms moved nervously as she read reports on her datapad. The numbers made no sense. They had to be wrong. 17 billion ships, she said out loud. That cannot be correct. General Corks from the hegemony military looked up from his own reports. His red eyes were tired and stressed. Our intelligence says the same thing, maybe more. The humans have been lying to us for decades. How? Asked Ambassador Tren from the Trade Federation. Our spies watched their shipyards. We counted their military vessels. They had maybe 50 warships total. They fooled us, Cork said angrily. While we thought they were weak and new to space travel, they were building the largest fleet in galactic history. The door to the meeting room opened. A tall alien with gray skin walked in quickly. This was Director Noth, head of the Combined Intelligence Network. He looked scared, which worried everyone in the room. Noth was famous for staying calm during any crisis. The situation is worse than we thought, Noth announced. He activated the holographic display in the center of the room. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared covered in red dots. Each red dot represents a human fleet, Noth explained. They are positioned at every major trade route, military base, and populated world across known space. They didn't just hide their ships. They moved them into attack positions around all of our important locations. Prime Minister Yala stared at the map. Red dots surrounded her empire's capital world. More dots blocked the main shipping lanes her people used for trade. The humans could cut off food and supplies to billions of her citizens with a simple command. How? Many civilians are at risk? She asked. All of them, Noth replied. Every major population center in the galaxy is within range of human weapons. They could destroy our civilizations in hours. General Cork slammed his fist on the table. This is an act of war. We should call up every military unit we have and fight back. With what? Noth asked. Our combined fleet's total may be 10,000 ships. The humans have deployed over 50 times that number, and each of their ships is more advanced than our best vessels. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The humans hadn't just achieved military superiority, they had achieved absolute dominance over the entire galaxy. Ambassador Tren looked pale. The Trade Federation's merchant ships are reporting human vessels alongside them on every major route. Not attacking, just watching. Waiting. Waiting for what? Yala asked. Before anyone could answer, the communication system in the room activated. A human face appeared on the main screen. He looked young, with short dark hair and calm brown eyes. His uniform was the same simple gray that all human military personnel wore. "Greetings," the human said. "I am Admiral Stone of the United Earth Space Command. I am speaking simultaneously to every government leader in the galaxy. The message is simple." The alien leaders looked at each other nervously. A simultaneous broadcast to every major government meant the humans had been watching all of them, recording their communications, knowing exactly where their leaders would be at this moment. "Humanity is offering every species in the galaxy a choice," Admiral Stone continued. "You can join our new galactic alliance as equal partners. You will keep your governments, your cultures, your ways of life. But there will be no more wars between species, no more exploitation of weaker civilizations, no more destruction of planets for resources. And if we refuse?" General Corks called out, even though he knew the human couldn't hear him. As if reading his mind, Admiral Stone answered the question. "Refusal means you choose to remain outside our protection. Your worlds will be left alone, but so will you. No trade with alliance members, no access to our technology, no help if other species attack you." Prime Minister Yala understood immediately. The humans weren't threatening to destroy anyone. They were offering something much more powerful: exclusion. In a galaxy where human fleets controlled all the major trade routes, being cut off from their alliance would mean economic collapse. "There is a third option," Stone continued. "Active resistance to our offer will be considered an act of war against all peaceful species in the galaxy. Our response will be swift and final." The transmission ended, leaving the alien leaders staring at a blank screen. Outside the meeting room's windows, they could see human ships holding position near the space station. Not threatening, but clearly present. "They've checkmated us," Noth said quietly. "Join them willingly, be ignored, and collapse economically, or fight and be destroyed. Those are our only choices." General Corks was still angry. How did they do this? How did they build 50,000 ships without anyone knowing? "We're getting reports from our intelligence networks," Noth replied. He pulled up new data on his pad. "The humans have been using automated construction systems. Entire planets turned into shipyards, robot factories that work without stopping. They've industrialized their entire space at a rate we didn't think was possible." "Robot workers?" Ambassador Tren looked confused. "But that would require massive amounts of energy and raw materials. They found ways to get both," Noth explained. "Fusion reactors that use seawater for fuel. Mining operations that can strip asteroids in days instead of years. They've solved every resource problem that limits other species." Prime Minister Yala looked at the galactic map again. The red dots representing human fleets covered everything. Every world, every station, every place where civilization existed was under human observation. "What choice do we really have?" she asked. "Fight a war we cannot win, or accept their terms." "Their terms aren't unreasonable," Ambassador Tren admitted. "No more wars, no more exploitation, cooperation instead of competition. Many species would benefit from those rules." "But we lose our independence," General Corks argued. "We become junior partners in a human empire." "Better junior partners than extinct species," Yala replied. The door opened again. This time, a communication officer rushed in with an urgent message pad. "Sir," the officer said to Director Noth, "we're receiving surrender announcements from governments across the galaxy. The Hegemony Council has voted to accept human terms. The Trade Federation Board approved alliance membership. Even the warlike Brat clans are laying down their weapons." Noth nodded slowly. "How many major governments are left?" 17 out of 43, the officer replied. "But the number is dropping every hour." Prime Minister Yala looked around the room at her fellow leaders. They were all thinking the same thing. The humans had won without firing a shot. Not through violence or threats, but through overwhelming demonstration of power combined with reasonable terms. "I will recommend that the Vorthan Empire accept alliance membership," she announced. "Our people will benefit from peace and human technology. The alternative is isolation and eventual collapse. One by one, the other leaders in the room came to the same conclusion. Fighting was impossible. Isolation was economic suicide. Joining. The Human Alliance offered the best future for their people. Outside the station, human ships continued their silent watch over the galaxy, waiting patiently for the last few governments to make their choice. The age of independent species was ending. The age of human-led galactic alliance was beginning, and most remarkably, it was happening without a single shot being fired. Deep in the underground bunkers of the hegemony's most secure military base, scientists worked frantically to understand what had happened. Dr. Vex studied holographic displays showing human ship designs while her assistants ran calculations on powerful computers. The energy output doesn't make physical sense, she muttered, adjusting her thick glasses. According to our laws of physics, ships that size cannot generate that much power. Her assistant, a young researcher named Kip, looked up from his workstation. Maybe our laws of physics are wrong. Maybe the humans discovered something we missed. Dr. Vex had spent 40 years studying spacecraft design. She knew the limits of what was possible with known technology. Fusion reactors could only get so efficient. Hull materials could only be so strong. Weapons could only channel so much energy, without destroying themselves. But the human ships broke every rule she thought was absolute. Show me the scan of their propulsion systems, she ordered. The holographic display changed to show the rear section of a human warship. Where other species mounted massive engine arrays with huge fuel tanks, the humans had something completely different. Small, elegant devices that seemed to bend space itself around the ship. They're not using fusion drives or chemical rockets, Kip realized. They're manipulating gravity directly, moving space instead of moving through space. That should be impossible, Dr. Vex said. But the evidence was right in front of her. Somehow humans had mastered technology that other species thought was pure fantasy. A communication alert sounded in the laboratory. Dr. Vex activated the display to see General Corks's face appearing on screen. He looked tired and defeated. Doctor, he said, I need answers. How did the humans build this fleet without anyone detecting it? Sir, they didn't just build ships, she replied. They rebuilt their entire civilization around warfare. Our orbital telescopes show massive structures throughout human space that weren't there 5 years ago. She pulled up long-range sensor data on the main display. Images of human star systems appeared, showing orbital constructions that dwarfed anything other species had ever built. Ring worlds, she explained, pointing to massive circular structures around human stars. Artificial habitats larger than planets, but they're not for living. They're factories, automated shipyards that can build vessels without any biological workers. General Corks leaned closer to his screen. How many ships can they build? Based on these scans, sir, they could construct 1,000 warships per day. Every day. They have the industrial capacity to build fleets faster than we can count them. The general was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question that kept everyone awake at night. Could we build similar factories? Dr. Vex shook her head. Sir, we would need technology we don't possess, energy sources we haven't discovered, materials that don't exist in our periodic table. The humans are centuries ahead of us in every field of science. But they've only been in space for 100 years, General Corks protested. We've been spacefaring for thousands of years. How did they advance so quickly? That's what terrifies me, sir, Dr. Vex replied. Either they're much older than they claim, or they learn and develop technology faster than any species in galactic history. Kip pulled up another display, showing comparative technological development. Sir, look at this timeline. In the past century, humans went from primitive chemical rockets to gravity manipulation, from radio communications to instantaneous galaxy-wide networks, from nuclear weapons to planet-cracking energy beams. 100 years, the general repeated. Other species take millennia to make those kinds of advances. Which brings us to the real question, Dr. Vex said grimly. If they can progress this fast, what will they be capable of in another 100 years? The laboratory fell silent as everyone considered the implications. A species that could advance from spaceflight to galactic dominance in a single century might soon develop godlike powers. Doctor, General Cork said slowly, are you recommending we surrender? Sir, I'm recommending we admit reality. We cannot fight them. We cannot match their technology. We cannot even understand how their ships work. Our only choice is to hope they keep their promises about treating other species fairly. Another alert sounded in the laboratory. This time it was an urgent message from the observation post on the edge of hegemony space. Dr. Vex, came the voice of Observatory Commander Rix. You need to see this. The humans are doing something new. The main display switched to show live telescope feeds from the observatory. In the distance, human ships were arranged in a formation around what appeared to be empty space. What are they doing? General Corks asked. Unknown, sir, but energy readings are off our sensors. They're generating more power than we've ever recorded. As they watched, space itself began to change around the human fleet. Reality seemed to twist and bend, creating patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. They're opening something, Kip whispered. A hole in space. A wormhole, Dr. Vex realized. They're creating an artificial gateway between star systems. Through the opening in space, more human ships began to appear. Thousands of them, arriving instantly from locations that should have taken months to reach by normal travel. Sir, Observatory Commander Rix reported, similar openings are appearing throughout the galaxy. The humans can now move their entire fleet anywhere in known space instantly. General Cork sat back in his chair, looking overwhelmed. They just made every defensive position worthless, every strategic location meaningless. They can appear anywhere, anytime, with overwhelming force. The wormhole closed, leaving the human ships floating in normal space as if nothing unusual had happened. But everyone watching understood what they had witnessed. Humanity had just demonstrated the ability to redraw the map of the galaxy at will. Doctor, the general said quietly, prepare a recommendation for the Hegemony Council. We cannot resist this level of technology. Our military is obsolete. Our defenses are meaningless. We have no choice but to accept human terms. Dr. Vex nodded slowly. She had spent her career studying the limits of what was possible. Today she had learned that humans didn't believe in limits. Sir, there's something else, she said. If they can build ships this advanced and open holes in space itself, why are they offering alliance instead of simply taking what they want? What do you mean? They could conquer us easily. They could enslave us or destroy us without effort. But they're asking us to join them voluntarily. They want partners, not subjects. General Corks considered this. You think they're planning something bigger? Sir, I think they're preparing for something we don't know about yet. A threat we haven't seen, and they need allies, not enemies, to face it. The possibility hung in the air like a dark cloud. If humanity, with all their incredible technology and massive fleets, needed help from other species, what kind of danger was coming? Outside the bunker, human ships continued their patient watch over the galaxy, waiting for the last few governments to make their decision. But now everyone wondered what humanity was really preparing for, and whether even their impossible fleet would be enough. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from every known species sat in their assigned seats, but today felt different. Today, they weren't here as equals debating policy. They were here as defeated civilizations accepting terms from their conquerors. Ambassador Wells of the Human Alliance walked slowly to the central podium. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, wearing the same simple uniform that all human officials used. She didn't look like someone who commanded the most powerful military force in galactic history. Friends, she began, her voice carrying easily through the hall's speakers. We gather today not as conquerors and conquered, but as species choosing to work together for a better future. Prime Minister Yala listened carefully to the humans' words. After 3 days of debate, her government had voted to accept human alliance terms. So had most others. Only a few species remained outside the new order, and they were already feeling the economic pressure of isolation. The terms of alliance membership are simple, Ambassador Wells continued. Each species keeps its government, culture, and traditions. Your worlds remain under your control. Your people live according to your own laws and customs. She paused, looking around the hall at hundreds of different alien faces. Some looked hopeful. Others seemed afraid. All of them were listening intently. However, Wells said, certain activities will no longer be permitted. No member species may attack another member. No exploitation of primitive civilizations. No destruction of inhabited worlds. No development of weapons designed to eliminate entire populations. General Corks raised his hand to speak. Ambassador Wells, who will enforce these rules? What prevents a species from secretly building weapons or planning attacks? The human smiled. An excellent question, General. The answer is that we will know about such activities before they begin. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the hall. It showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, but this one was different from any they had seen before. Every ship, every station, every major installation was marked with a small dot of light. This is our real-time monitoring network, Wells explained. Every Alliance member grants us access to their space for peacekeeping purposes. We maintain observation stations throughout your territories, not to spy on your daily lives, but to ensure no one is preparing for war. Ambassador Tren from the YAR Trade Federation looked concerned. You're talking about permanent occupation of our space by human forces. We're talking about protection, Wells corrected. Human ships and stations will be present in your territories, yes. But they're there to prevent conflicts, not to control your governments. Think of them as galactic peacekeepers. The holographic display changed to show examples of human monitoring stations. They were small, automated platforms that could detect military buildups, weapons testing, or fleet movements, definitely watching everything but not interfering with normal civilian activities. What happens if a member species decides to leave the Alliance? Asked Prime Minister Yala. Ambassador Wells looked sad for a moment. They are free to leave, at any time. We will remove our monitoring stations and peacekeeping forces, but they will also lose all Alliance benefits. No trade agreements, no technology sharing, no protection if they are attacked by non-Alliance species. Everyone in the hall understood. Leaving the Alliance meant economic collapse and military vulnerability. It was possible, but it would be suicide. Ambassador, General Cork said, you keep mentioning protection and peacekeeping. Protection from what? Who threatens us that requires such massive military preparations? For the first time, Ambassador Wells looked genuinely worried. General, humanity has been monitoring radio signals from beyond our galaxy for many decades. We know things are coming. Things that make our current conflicts look trivial. The hall erupted in concerned voices speaking dozens of languages. Extragalactic threats were theoretical dangers that most species preferred not to think about. Wells raised her hand for silence. We cannot share all details yet, but our deep space monitoring has detected signs of massive movement in neighboring galaxies, civilizations that have consumed entire galactic clusters. They appear to be expanding in our direction. How long do we have? Prime Minister Yala asked quietly. Our best estimates suggest first contact within 500 to 1,000 years. That seems like a long time, but preparing for threats of this magnitude requires centuries of work. Suddenly, the human alliance made sense. They weren't conquering the galaxy for power or resources. They were preparing every species for a war that hadn't started yet. A war against enemies so powerful that even unified galactic civilization might not be enough to survive. The fleet you've seen, Wells continued, represents just the beginning of our preparations. Over the coming centuries, we will need to transform every major world into a fortress. Every species will need to contribute their unique knowledge and abilities. Every individual will need to be ready to defend not just their homeworld, but their entire galaxy. Ambassador Tren raised his hand. What can the Trade Federation contribute to such preparations? Your people are the best logisticians in the galaxy, Wells replied immediately. Moving supplies and resources across interstellar distances efficiently. That skill will be crucial for maintaining defenses across thousands of worlds. She turned to General Corks. The hegemony military traditions will help us train soldiers from species who have never fought wars. Your tactical knowledge and warrior culture are invaluable. To Prime Minister Yala, she said, Vorthon engineering and manufacturing capabilities will be essential for building the infrastructure we need. Your people turn raw materials into finished products better than anyone. Each species was being given a role in humanity's grand plan. Not as subjects, but as specialists contributing their best abilities to a common cause. What about species that refuse to join? Asked a representative from the Outer Rim territories. They remain free to make their own choices, Wells replied. But when the external threat arrives, they will face it alone. The Alliance will protect its members first. The message was clear without being threatening. Join the Alliance and contribute to galactic defense or face extragalactic invaders without help. One by one, the remaining holdout governments announced their decision to join the Human Alliance. The economic pressure was too strong, and the promise of protection against future threats was too valuable to ignore. Excellent, Ambassador Wells said as the last government voted to join. Welcome to the Galactic Defense Alliance. Tomorrow, human technical teams will begin visiting your worlds to start infrastructure improvements. Defense platforms around major planets, industrial upgrades to increase production capacity, training programs for your military forces. She looked around the hall one more time. This is not the end of your independence. It's the beginning of something greater than any single species could achieve alone. Together, we will build defenses that can protect all life in this galaxy. The session ended with formal documents being signed and transmitted to every member world. But everyone in the hall understood that they had just witnessed the most important moment in galactic history. The age of separate species was over. The age of unified galactic civilization had begun, and somewhere beyond the edge of known space, ancient enemies were moving closer to a war that would decide the fate of all life in the galaxy. Human ships around every Alliance world began powering up their construction systems. There was work to do and only centuries to prepare. The real challenge was just beginning. 2 years had passed since the formation of the Galactic Defense Alliance. The changes were visible everywhere, even from space. Major worlds now glowed with the light of massive construction projects. Defense platforms surrounded every inhabited planet like mechanical moons. Trade routes buzzed with ships carrying resources and personnel between systems at speeds that had been impossible before human technology. Commissioner Yala stood in the observation lounge of the new orbital facility, above her homeworld. The structure was enormous, larger than most cities, and it had been built in just 18 months using human construction methods. Through the transparent walls, she could see the surface of her planet below, dotted with new industrial complexes and training centers. Impressive, isn't it? Came a familiar voice behind her. She turned to see Admiral Stone approaching, the same human officer who had delivered the Alliance ultimatum years ago. He looked older now, with lines of stress around his eyes, but his expression remained calm and confident. Your people work quickly, Yala admitted. I never thought we could build something like this so fast. Automated construction systems and gravity manipulation technology, Stone explained. When you can move massive objects without fighting planetary gravity, building becomes much easier. They stood together watching the activity below. Vorthon. Workers trained alongside human engineers, learning to operate new manufacturing systems. Military personnel from dozens of species practiced joint operations. Children from different worlds played together in integrated schools. Are you satisfied with the results? Stone asked. Yala considered the question carefully. My people are healthier than ever. Disease has been almost eliminated by your medical technology. Our industrial output has increased by 3,000%. Crime rates have dropped to historical lows. But, Stone prompted, sensing her hesitation, but we're not the same species we were 2 years ago. Our young people dress like humans, speak human languages, adopt human customs. They're losing connection to our traditional culture. Stone nodded thoughtfully. Cultural change is inevitable when civilizations interact, but it doesn't have to mean the loss of your heritage. Would you like to see something? He led her to a transport terminal where they boarded a small shuttle. Within minutes, they were descending toward the planet's surface, heading to a region Yala didn't recognize. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Something we've been working on in cooperation with your Cultural Preservation Committee." The shuttle landed at what appeared to be a completely traditional Vorthon settlement. Ancient-style buildings surrounded a central plaza where Vorthon artists displayed their work. The architecture, the decorations, even the clothing worn by the inhabitants looked exactly like historical records from centuries ago. "We call them heritage zones," Stone explained as they walked through the settlement. "Every member species has areas dedicated to preserving and practicing traditional culture. Advanced technology is available but hidden. People can live exactly as their ancestors did if they choose." Yala watched Vorthon children playing traditional games while their parents crafted items using ancient techniques. But she noticed that these weren't primitive communities. Hidden medical scanners monitored everyone's health. Emergency response systems were built invisibly into every building. The people here had chosen traditional life, but they weren't cut off from modern safety and security. "This is remarkable," she admitted. "But how many people choose this lifestyle?" "About 15% of most populations," Stone replied. "Others visit regularly to maintain connection with their heritage. The goal isn't to force anyone to live traditionally, but to ensure the option remains available." They returned to the orbital facility as evening fell across the planet below. In the main conference room, representatives from other Alliance species were meeting with human coordinators to discuss ongoing projects. "Admiral Stone," General Corks called out as they entered. "Perfect timing. We were discussing the new threat detection network." The holographic display in the center of the room showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. But this wasn't the simple dot map they had seen years ago. This was a living network of interconnected sensors, communication relays, and defensive positions covering every major system. "The network went fully operational yesterday," reported Technical Coordinator Martinez, another human officer. "We now have real-time monitoring of everything from the galactic core to the outer rim. If anything hostile approaches from outside our galaxy, we'll know about it immediately." Ambassador Tren looked impressed. "The Trade Federation's logistics network has been fully integrated. We can move supplies and personnel to any threatened location within days instead of months. And our military training programs are showing excellent results," General Corks added. "Joint task forces from multiple species are operating with efficiency, levels that exceed what any single species could achieve alone." Yala studied the display, noting the dense concentration of defenses around her own homeworld. Every Alliance member was equally protected. Human resources and technology were being distributed fairly, not concentrated around human worlds. "Admiral," she said, "our intelligence services are curious about something. Your deep space monitoring stations have detected the external threats you mentioned, but you haven't shared specific details. What exactly are we preparing to fight?" Stone's expression became serious. He gestured to the display, which shifted to show the space beyond their galaxy. Dark regions appeared where neighboring galaxies should have been visible. 3 galaxy clusters that were active 50 years ago have gone completely dark, he explained. No radio signals, no light from stars, no signs of civilization. Something consumed everything in them. The room fell silent. The scale of destruction Stone was describing was beyond comprehension. Entire galaxies wiped clean of all life and energy. "Our long-range sensors have detected movement at the edge of those dark zones," Stone continued. "Massive structures, larger than star systems, moving in our direction. Based on their trajectory and speed, they will reach the outer edge of our galaxy in approximately 400 years. General Corks leaned forward. "What kind of beings could destroy entire galaxies?" "We don't know," Stone admitted. "But we have theories. Artificial intelligences that consume matter for energy. Biological swarms that strip planets bare. Ancient civilizations that harvest entire galaxies for resources. The exact nature doesn't matter as much as the result." He manipulated the display to show projected invasion routes. When they arrive, they won't negotiate or communicate. They'll simply begin consuming everything in their path. Every world, every star, Every trace of life will be converted into materials for their expansion. Ambassador Tren looked pale. And you believe our combined forces can stop something that destroyed entire galaxies? Alone? No, Stone replied honestly, but we have advantages they might not expect. We know they're coming. We have time to prepare. Most importantly, we have something they may have never encountered before. Which is unity, Stone said simply. Every previous galaxy they consumed was probably divided into competing species fighting each other instead of working together. We're building something unprecedented, a truly unified galactic civilization. The display changed again to show the current alliance structure. Every major world was connected to every other major world through multiple communication and transportation networks. Resources flowed freely between species based on need rather than politics. Military forces trained together as a single unified command. In 400 years, we will have advantages no single species could develop alone, Stone continued. Vorthon engineering combined with human energy technology. Hegemony military tactics enhanced by Trade Federation logistics. Every species contributing their best abilities to a common defense. Yala looked around the room at representatives from dozens of different species, all working together on preparations for a war that wouldn't begin for centuries. It was remarkable how quickly old enemies had become close allies when faced with an external threat. What happens if we succeed? She asked. If we defeat these invaders and save our galaxy, what comes next? Stone smiled for the first time during their conversation. Then we help other galaxies do the same thing. We share our unity model with civilizations facing similar threats. Eventually, we build an intergalactic alliance that can protect all life in the universe. The meeting continued late into the night, with detailed discussions of manufacturing schedules, training programs, and research projects. But Yala found herself thinking about Stone's vision of the future. Humanity hadn't just saved their galaxy from invasion. They had created a template for cosmic civilization that could spread across the universe. As the meeting ended and representatives returned to their ships, Yala remained in the observation lounge looking down at her transformed homeworld. Her people were different now, but perhaps they were better, healthier, safer, part of something larger than any single species could achieve. Commissioner, Stone said, joining her at the window one final time, do you have any regrets about joining the Alliance? Yala considered the question while watching ships from dozens of species moving peacefully between the orbital platforms around her world. Trade vessels, research ships, military patrols, and passenger transports, all sharing the same space without conflict. Ask me again in 400 years, she replied, when we see if your vision of unity is strong enough to protect us from what's coming. Stone nodded. Fair enough, but I think you'll be pleased with the results. Outside the station, the lights of a unified galactic civilization stretched across the starfield. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in cosmic history. They had united an entire galaxy not through conquest, but through the promise of protection and the reality of shared prosperity. In 400 years, they would discover if that unity was strong enough to preserve all life in their galaxy, against forces that had consumed countless others. But for tonight, the galaxy was at peace, and billions of beings slept safely, knowing they were protected by the most powerful alliance in cosmic history. The age of human dominance had become the age of galactic cooperation, and the universe would never be the same.